The deep links that you can build from your MLS system out to RPR are really beneficial for those first time users to start to access RPR and get a feel for what we do and what is available for them within the RPR tool. But for those that do choose to just go into RPR on their own, one of the great things that we've done is actually created guided tours. So if you are somebody new, you can come into the RPR tool and get a little tour that leads you through what you really want to be looking at, how to do a property search, what are you seeing on the map? And it really does guide you through the process and make it a little less overwhelming when you're going into a system for the first time.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming out today to another Triangle MLS podcast. Today, we have my old friend, Liz Tewksbury from RPR. Liz, I'll let you introduce yourself and maybe tell everybody where we ran into each other first.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So hello, everyone. Liz Tewksbury. I'm the Senior Director of Industry Relations here at RPR. But like Matt, worn many hats in this industry. And so Matt and I go way back when roles were reversed, and I worked at a large regional MLS here in New England, and Matt happened to be working in. Since then, our paths always seem to cross, and here we are yet again.
Yeah, I think we've both had a few brands since then, Liz. But that was fun. That was one of my favorite projects. It's still the most popular portal that we published. I definitely use it as a benchmark still. I tell my people all the time that the best organizations benchmark against better organizations, and they figure out how they do that, and try it and get better. And we're launching a consumer portal. We just did. It went up last week, and we're hopeful that in a year or two or three, we can start having some of those numbers. But RPR is something that, it's on the dashboard when people log in through Triangle. It's something that I know our members hear about a lot. It is an association member benefit, if I characterize that correctly. And it's super deep. And I want to make sure the reason we're having this podcast today, as we do with all of our technology providers, is that I think most people understand that they use about 15% of the software's capacity, that they use every day. And we want to really make sure they understand what's out there. So we just use RPR to do some really meaningful stuff in a recent merger. Before we get to all that, I'd love to hear, Liz, from you about, your favorite things to talk about this year as the industry relations person about RPR. What's current, what do my subscribers need to know is sitting there for them to use.
Sure. To your point, Matt, there are so many pieces and so many incredible things that we could talk about when it comes to PR. I'll start off with just a real high level of who we are for those folks that might not know. RPR, that stands for Realtors Property Resource. We are a national parcel-centric database made up of residential as well as commercial properties. Our tool is built exclusively for realtors. And more importantly, I always like to say what RPR is not. RPR does not have any consumer access. So it is truly a realtor-only product for you to get access to your MLS, but as well as from a number of other data sources that we bring into the RPR ecosystem. Ultimately, RPR's goal is simply just to create efficiencies for realtors so that they can better serve consumers. We want to provide data and technology that really helps realtors to demonstrate their market knowledge. And the big one is, and we hear this a lot right now, it's a buzzword, but it truly is to continue to reinforce that realtor value.
Yeah, you mean it's when you pull a report out of RPR, you have a lot of options to do that. I know our people have technology provided by their brokers. We have reports I know you can get from Realist if you're using Matrix on our platform. They can pull reports from CRS Tax Suite if they're using Flex or Paragon. But RPR really reaches across all of those things. And it's another resource that you have. And I'm about to build a house. And one of the things I did was pull up the lot that we just bought in RPR, and was astonished, frankly, at what's there. I mean, that's a really significant amount of information. You said parcel centric, Liz.
Mhm.
Explain that to our users a little bit.
Sure. So obviously, we power RPR using MLS listing data. So that's all of the information that you input into your MLS system we have displayed on the listings. But maybe you want to see what's going on down the street in some of those homes that aren't on the market. Well, you can, pull up the map and see anything and everything about the properties that are surrounding it. So maybe you are looking for more public record information or tax data, perhaps some heat maps, or you want to just get in and look at the historical data that might be available. We also have things like FEMA flood maps that are integrated directly into the product. We pull school reports in, everything that you could possibly want to know, we think is available within the RPR tool.
Yeah, I think that would just be mandatory for a listing presentation. I know people have their own process for doing that, obviously, and some people are, make that a real science. But this is free sitting in the dashboard for you to just go and see what you can learn about that neighborhood. I was looking to see if the neighbors had ADUs that had been recently built, indicating that those were not just allowed, but happening in the neighborhood at accessory dwelling units, like a mother-in-law suite in the backyard sort of thing. Those are really popular. And I was trying to figure out if it was happening in that neighborhood, and they were. So I was talking about the merger earlier. This is just another lens to think about RPR and just what's there. Our subscribers will remember the Alamance merger from about a year and a half ago, where the nearby Burlington Alamance Association of Realtors merged their Alamance MLS into Triangle. So all the Burlington Alamance County Association members are now Triangle subscribers. And when we sat down to look at the project sequencing, how was this going to go? Well, when could we get the data in a place where we could share it? We realized that it was already together in RPR. And we reached out to our rep and said, what, if we understand how this works, does that mean that you could just, make an administrative change or a licensing change to the way the system works and commingle these data? And they said, yeah, sure, absolutely. Do you want it done this week or next week? And, we weren't quite ready for an answer that was weeks, not months. So we had to go back and make sure we had our communications in place. But it was the first place that the merged data set was available. And people were logging in and using the RPR version of the data almost a year before the rest of the systems were completed. So that's a nice little success story.
Yeah, and we hear a lot of, and it's interesting. Your members actually they have access to your listing data, and then any that you choose to reciprocate sharing data with when we talk about all of your listing data. But your agents also have access to all listings across the nation, right? So they can look and see some listing data from, we have 275 MLSs across the country that participate in what we call RPR View. So there are so many opportunities for them to maybe get a feel for what might be happening in other areas of the country. And by doing that and having the ability to quickly share data between markets, that obviously the success of that comes from RISO data standards and the work that we've done behind the scenes to really create a scenario where we can be nimble and quickly make that data available. But we've seen that it is really successful. Last year alone, we had 553,000 realtors that accessed the RPR platform. So that's a really big number of realtors that are coming in every single day, not only to look at listings in their market, but look for listings elsewhere, including within Triangle MLS.
That is a big number, more than 500,000. Wow, it's a lot. I've heard a little evidence of it, but I'm hopeful that people logging in to look at the Elements data, might have been accessing RPR for the first time, or don't normally find themselves going back in there often because they're always in their MLS platform. We just introduced MLS front end of choice in November. Tomorrow is actually June, well, whenever this runs, but tomorrow is the deadline when you have to pick which one you want. I really want our subscribers to get unstuck from the one application that they've used for 10 years and learn that there are other tools out there. You can present a different look and feel to your customers. It doesn't have to be the one that's that comes in the box, from with your MLS membership. We're really trying to build innovation and creativity into that process. RPR is part of that, because we're going to try to build more deep links into RPR throughout the platform so that it just becomes more present in the workflows. It's a very valuable resource. It's $500,000's a lot, but it's underutilized, I know, in our market. Because when we go out and talk about it and ask people, do you use RPR, we get, some blank stares sometimes. So we want to get past that.
Yeah, the deep links that you can build from your MLS system out to RPR are really beneficial for those first time users to start to access RPR and get a feel for what we do and what is available for them within the RPR tool. But for those that do choose to just go into RPR on their own, one of the great things that we've done is actually created guided tours. So if you are somebody new, you can come into the RPR tool and get a little tour that leads you through what you really want to be looking at, how to do a property search, what are you seeing on the map? And it really does guide you through the process and make it a little less overwhelming when you're going into a system for the first time.
Yeah, that's really helpful, so people can just go through that whenever they want.
Yep. Yep. And lots of training, obviously, always available. I think you all put that up on your training calendar as well.
Yeah, we do offer quite a bit of training, and I really like the videos and the like on-screen guides, the walk me or whatever those things, because most of our people are doing their work, working all day, right? And they're driving people around, and they get to this stuff later and on the weekends. I want it to be asynchronously delivered, so it's not on my schedule; it's on your schedule. I love that RPR is leaning into that.
Yeah, and off to our mobile platform rather. We're finding more and more folks, everybody always has their phone nearby. Everybody doesn't always have a computer nearby. What's great about the mobile solution is, especially if you're out at a property, you can, open it up and click on near me on the map and get the information that you need for your listing right there without having to, log into somewhere and run a search or even if I like to do when I'm out for a walk and I see a new house just came on the market, I always love to say near me and check that house out. So it's a really great tool when you're on the go too.
Sure, for sure. I've used that. It is really cool. I also have the Flex Pro one on my phone, Home Spotter. I mean, I've got a bunch of them, and I've also got 3 weather apps that I rely on in different ways, and again, it's making the point, get unstuck from the one thing you've always used, try a different tool, and maybe you go back to the other one. Maybe you love that. But if you're a professional and it's 2024 and you're using the same tool you used in 2014, well, it doesn't look like 2014 out there anymore. And I think it's important to go to the dashboard.
No, and it's
triangle.
Because when I knew you, Matt, I'm not going to say when, because then people are going to know how old we really are. But
yeah, you think my camera's on? Is my camera on? They can tell.
yeah, right. But the RPR that I knew back then is so very different than the RPR that it is today. It's really amazing to see how the product has grown, and I'm sure that's the case with so many of the products that are out there. In particular, what had my biggest mind blown moment when I came over to RPR and saw the changes they had made, but the market trend script writer, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that. Do you know about it or?
I'm not sure I do know what that is.
Okay. So it's better if I demo it, but obviously we're not going to do that. But just to give you a little overview, but the market trends script writer, market trends, I think we all know what we're trying to do, find out what's happening in the market, right? So you maybe put in a zip code and single family in this zip code, and it runs a market trends report. What we heard from people, we do a lot of user testing. We constantly have at our system telling us what where we should go, what we could do better, and really making the product work for practitioners. And what they told us was, your market trends report is awesome. The data that you get from it is, really does tell the story of what's going on. But if I'm a brand new agent, I don't really even know how to tell that story, right?
It's really hard to put together. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to read the reports and be able to have a conversation with a buyer or a seller about what these reports really mean. So that was one thing we heard. Another thing was, other folks who would say, I know I need to be on social media more, promoting myself, promoting my brand, promoting what's going on in the market. I'm just not good at it. I don't know how to write the content. So we actually integrated ChatGPT into our market trends report. And so it's called the AI script writer. You go in,
Oh, cool.
yeah, you run your market trends report, and then you can just choose your audience, you can choose your tone, and you say, is this for a social media post, or, is this just for an email that I'm writing to somebody? And it will spit out what you probably should be saying about what the market trends report came up with.
That is so cool, Liz. I think that most of my subscribers looked at RPR if they did a while ago, right? Like they wouldn't know that that was there. So we're going to want to, so it's why we're talking to them more about these options and the choices that they have for doing things. ChatGPT into the, to integrate into the stats presentation is just really smart. I love that our subscribers have access to that, and we'll make sure they know about it.
I thought it was one of the greatest things when I came over to RPR 6 months ago, and we actually rolled it out in commercial recently too. I've got to familiarize myself with it a little bit more before I can speak intelligently about it, because we just released it, but interested to see what that one looks like as well in commercial.
We just saw a demo of an ad listing workflow that has a ChatGPT like generative AI remarks with, as you said, with all the different tones. And it's really interesting where that's going. And it's really changing so quickly. So I guess that's the primary message that I'd probably like to leave my subscribers with, that we just heard Liz talk about really a significant level of investment in the product, starting with user testing, which is not inexpensive, to, new features, the mobile app. This is like not your grandmother's RPR. So we want to really get the message out that they need to go check it out.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. It is not your grandma's RPR. It really has come a long way, and I'm super impressed by it. And I think your folks will be too.
Yeah, me too. And I'm really glad you're there. We have a good contact at RPR.